Have you ever felt like you were walking a path few others could understand? A path that demanded solitude, inner exploration, and perhaps even a bit of isolation from the world around you. If you're someone who has always felt a deep connection to something greater, you may have found yourself on the journey of a chosen one, a person called to awaken to a deeper truth about themselves and the universe. This path is not for the faint of heart. It requires resilience, strength, and a willingness to embrace the unknown. It's not just a physical journey, but a spiritual one, a journey that takes you to the depths of your soul and beyond, often through moments of profound isolation. In this space of solitude, something extraordinary happens. The world fades away, and what remains is you, the real you, the essence that has always been waiting to be uncovered. So, let's explore the 9 secrets that chosen ones experience during these solitary moments, each one serving as a stepping stone towards spiritual awakening, personal growth, and self-discovery. If you've ever wondered why your moments of solitude feel so transformative, this journey is for you. First, revelation, the time paradox in solitude. Have you ever noticed how time seems to slow down when you're alone with your thoughts, as if the world is holding its breath? It's in these moments of solitude that time becomes something entirely different, something more profound. I remember one particular evening when I was alone in a quiet space, away from the distractions of the world. Days turned into nights without my noticing, and time seemed to stretch and bend, almost as if it were playing a game with me. It was during this time that I realized something remarkable. When you are truly present, when you surrender to the moment, time becomes a friend rather than a relentless enemy. No longer did I feel like I was racing against the clock. Instead, I felt a deep sense of connection to the universe, as though I was moving in rhythm with it. In the solitude of that space, I discovered something that changed my perspective forever. Time is not linear. It doesn't move in a straight line, constantly pushing us forward. In isolation, time opens up. Days feel like hours, and yet hours feel like days. It's as if you have all the time in the world to reflect, to grow, to uncover the deepest parts of yourself. The paradox of time, where it both contracts and expands, becomes a profound tool for self-discovery. It invites you to embrace the present, to be fully engaged with the now, where every second is an opportunity for growth and insight. And in that space of timelessness, you begin to see that each moment is not just passing by, it is unfolding into something much deeper and much more meaningful than you ever imagined. Second revelation, familial bonds redefined. There comes a time on the chosen one's path when you must step away from the familiar. For me, this was one of the hardest aspects of the journey. The need for solitude often meant distancing myself from family and loved ones. It wasn't that I didn't love them, far from it. But I realized that in order to truly discover who I was, I had to step away from the roles I had always played, the son, the sibling, the friend, and just be. There is something profound that happens when you detach from the expectations and dynamics of family life. You begin to see them, not as your roles or identities, but as individuals on their own journeys. And as much as we all crave connection, there is also a deep calling to discover and nurture your own individuality. I remember feeling torn between the love I had for my family and the pull to be alone, to understand myself outside the context of their influence. It was during this time that I realized that this separation wasn't abandonment, it was an act of self-love. It was a necessary part of my spiritual growth. But here's the beauty of it, even in that separation, the bond remained. It wasn't severed, it was redefined. The distance didn't break our connection, it allowed it to deepen in new ways. I found that I could love them more fully when I wasn't constantly wrapped up in the expectations of what our relationship should look like, and I could love myself in ways that were more authentic and true. The paradox of this journey is that you can seek autonomy while remaining deeply tethered to your roots. It's not about cutting ties, but about expanding them, giving yourself and your loved ones the space to grow. The chosen ones, I believe, learn how to hold both, the need for solitude and the importance of family, in harmony. We learn that true growth doesn't mean forsaking our past, it means redefining it. Third revelation, encounters with the divine and the supernatural. Have you ever had a moment that made you stop and wonder if there was more to life than meets the eye? For me, these moments always seem to come when I least expect them, in the quiet spaces, when the noise of the world has faded away. One night, alone in my room, I felt a sudden shift in the air, as though something unseen had entered. A sense of peace washed over me, and in that stillness, I heard a voice. Not an audible one, but one that spoke directly to my soul. It wasn't a voice that I could explain, but it was unmistakably divine, like a message meant just for me. In that moment, I understood something profound. The universe was communicating with me, guiding me. These supernatural encounters are not always dramatic or overt. Sometimes they come in the form of a sudden realization, a vision, or a fleeting feeling that you can't quite explain. But they are always significant. As chosen ones, we are often called to listen more closely, to tune into the whispers of the universe, and to trust the messages that come through in moments of solitude. These encounters are divine signposts, guiding us toward our higher purpose. The challenge is learning how to interpret them. It's like trying to read a map that doesn't use words but symbols. You must trust your intuition, your higher self, and the divine presence within. And as you do, you begin to see the interconnectedness of all things. You start to understand that every moment, every experience, is part of a greater cosmic dance. These encounters are not random. They are the universe's way of showing you that you are on the right path, that you are being guided. The more you open yourself to them, the clearer the signs become, and the more you realize that you are not alone. You are being supported by a higher power that is always watching over you, always leading you toward your true calling. Fourth revelation, conversations with the higher self. Have you ever found yourself in deep contemplation, feeling as if your soul was speaking to you directly? I remember the first time it happened to me. I was sitting alone in a quiet room, my thoughts swirling like leaves in the wind, and then suddenly everything became still. It was like a switch flipped inside me, and in that silence, I heard a voice. But it wasn't a voice like any other. It wasn't external, but internal, coming from somewhere deep within. It was my higher self, reaching out to me in a way that felt both natural and profound. It wasn't an audible conversation, but more of a flow of wisdom, of understanding that seemed to transcend my own thoughts. At first, I didn't know what to make of it. Was it just my mind playing tricks on me, or was it something more? But as the days went by, the conversations became clearer, more consistent, and I realized that the higher self is not some distant, unreachable part of us. It's always there, guiding us, nurturing us, and offering insights that can help us navigate the complexities of life. In the moments of solitude, we are invited to listen closely. It's in these quiet spaces that the voice of the higher self can be heard. It's as though the noise of the world fades away and we're left with a pure, unfiltered connection to the deepest wisdom within us. The conversations I had with my higher self weren't always easy, though. There were moments when I had to confront parts of myself I wasn't ready to face, times when I heard truths that were uncomfortable. But these conversations were exactly what I needed. They taught me to trust myself, to honor my intuition, and to lean into the guidance that was always available. The beauty of these interactions is that they are not one-sided. As we listen, we begin to communicate back. We ask questions, seek clarity, and receive the answers in unexpected ways. Whether it's through a sudden insight, a feeling of knowing, or even a dream, the higher self always responds. And it's through this ongoing dialogue that we learn, evolve, and become more aligned with our true path. The key is being open to hearing, open to trusting, and open to growing. The more I embraced these conversations, the more I felt connected to my true essence, to the divine wisdom that resides within us all. Fifth revelation, heightened sensory perception. Imagine walking through the world with heightened senses, where every sight, every sound, every sensation feels more vivid, more intense. I first noticed this shift during a solitary walk in nature. As I wandered along a quiet trail, I could hear every rustle of the leaves, the soft chirping of birds in the distance, and the gentle hum of the earth beneath my feet. But it wasn't just sound that was amplified. The colors around me seemed more vibrant, as though the trees and flowers were speaking to me in their own language. The breeze on my skin felt like a message, as if the wind was brushing against me to remind me of my connection to everything around me. It was as if the world had come alive in a way I had never noticed before. The beauty of heightened sensory perception is that it opens you up to a deeper experience of life. It's not just about seeing or hearing, but about feeling the pulse of existence itself. These heightened perceptions allow us to connect with the world on a much more profound level. It's like the universe is speaking to us through all of its creations, the rustling of the leaves, the glow of the moon, the vibrations of the earth beneath our feet. Everything becomes sacred, every moment infused with meaning. But with this heightened awareness comes a challenge. The intensity of these sensations can sometimes be overwhelming. The beauty of the world becomes so intense that it can be difficult to ground yourself, to find peace amidst all the stimulation. I remember times when the sensory overload was so strong that I had to retreat into solitude just to regain my balance. But through this experience, I learned an important lesson. The key to navigating heightened sensory perception is grounding. We must find a way to anchor ourselves in the present moment, to filter the influx of sensations so that we can appreciate the beauty without becoming overwhelmed. It's about learning to walk in two worlds, the world of intense sensory awareness and the world of practical, grounded existence. As we learn to master this gift, we become bridges between the seen and unseen, able to interpret the subtle energies that flow through the universe and share that wisdom with others. Sixth revelation, confronting the shadows of the past. Every chosen one knows that the path to spiritual awakening isn't just about reaching toward the light. It's also about facing the shadows. I remember a time when I couldn't shake the feeling that something was holding me back, something deep within me that I had buried for years. It wasn't until I embraced solitude that I was able to confront these shadows head-on. The first shadow I encountered was a deep-seated fear, a fear of not being enough, of not living up to my own potential. It was a feeling that had been with me for as long as I could remember, one that I had buried beneath the surface, thinking it would just go away. But in the quiet space of isolation, I had no choice but to face it. As I sat in silence, I began to trace the origins of this fear, to uncover the memories and experiences that had shaped it. What I realized was that this fear wasn't mine alone. It had been passed down through generations, a pattern of insecurity and doubt that had been ingrained in my family lineage. This was the second shadow, the inherited wounds of my ancestors. I realized that in order to break free from these patterns, I needed to confront them directly, to face the darkness within myself and my family history. It wasn't easy. There were moments when I felt overwhelmed, when the weight of past trauma seemed too much to bear. But in that darkness, I also discovered a strength I hadn't known existed within me. By facing the shadows, I was able to heal them. And as I healed, I began to see the world differently. I saw the possibility for freedom, for transformation, not just for myself, but for my family and future generations. Confronting the shadows of the past is not a journey for the faint of heart. It requires courage, patience, and a willingness to face the parts of yourself that you'd rather forget. But it is through this confrontation that true healing occurs. It is through this process that we can transform our deepest wounds into sources of strength and wisdom. Seventh revelation, financial sovereignty and mastery. In my journey as a chosen one, I discovered that spiritual growth and financial sovereignty are more connected than I initially thought. I remember struggling with money for a long time, feeling as though financial constraints were holding me back from fully stepping into my power. It wasn't just about material wealth. It was about the energy of money and how it affected my sense of self-worth. I realized that in order to truly thrive, I needed to master my relationship with money. This didn't mean becoming obsessed with accumulating wealth, but rather learning how to manage it in a way that aligned with my values and supported my mission. I began to study financial literacy, not just as a means to secure my future, but as a tool for personal empowerment. I learned about budgeting, investing, and the importance of saving, but most importantly, I learned how to shift my mindset around money. Instead of seeing money as a source of stress or anxiety, I started to view it as a tool for freedom. Financial sovereignty became not just about securing resources for myself, but about creating space to live a life of purpose, to serve others, and to fulfill my divine calling. As I began to implement the lessons I had learned, I noticed a shift in my energy. I no longer felt controlled by financial struggles. Instead, I felt empowered, knowing that I had the knowledge and tools to navigate life's challenges with confidence. This journey of financial mastery was transformative. It taught me resilience, resourcefulness, and the importance of making conscious, informed decisions. I realized that financial freedom wasn't just about having more money. It was about having control over my life, my choices, and my destiny. By mastering money, I was able to master myself. And in doing so, I became a beacon of financial empowerment for others, showing them that financial sovereignty is a key part of the journey toward personal and spiritual awakening. Eighth revelation, the body as a vessel of transformation. When I first embarked on this spiritual journey, I never thought the body would play such a pivotal role. It was something I had taken for granted, something that was just there. But over time, I began to realize that our bodies are far more than just a physical form. They are sacred vessels, holding the power of transformation and healing. The first time this realization hit me, I was meditating in a quiet room, the air thick with silence. As I closed my eyes, I began to focus on my breath, and that's when it happened. I felt a deep connection to my body, as if every cell was awake, alert, and responding to my thoughts. It wasn't just about the breath anymore. It was about energy, a flow of life force coursing through me. My body was not separate from my spirit. It was the very vessel through which my spirit could express itself. I began to listen to it more closely, paying attention to the subtle signals it sent. It wasn't always easy. There were days when I felt stiff, heavy, burdened by the weight of past emotions and unresolved trauma. But even in those moments, I began to understand that my body was asking for healing. I remember one instance when I felt particularly drained. I'd been pushing myself too hard, ignoring the signs my body was giving me. That night, I decided to surrender, to give my body the space to heal. I sat in stillness, allowing myself to release the tension in my muscles, my mind, my heart. Slowly, I felt my body begin to shift, to release the old energies that had been trapped within. I realized that transformation wasn't just a mental or emotional process, it was a physical one too. Our bodies are constantly evolving, constantly adapting, and we have the ability to guide that process. As I continued this practice of tuning into my body, I noticed profound changes. I felt more vibrant, more aligned, more connected to the flow of life. I understood that my body was not a burden to carry, but a partner in my journey. It was through this partnership that I began to experience true transformation. The more I nurtured and honored my body, the more it became a reflection of my inner growth. The aches, the pains, the limitations, they all began to dissolve, replaced by a deep sense of vitality and strength. I learned that the body is not something to be feared or neglected, but something to be celebrated. It is through our bodies that we anchor our spiritual essence into the physical world, and through that connection, we can manifest true transformation. The body, when cared for, becomes a vessel of healing, a temple of wisdom, and a conduit for the divine. It is in this sacred union of body and spirit that we find the power to create change within ourselves and in the world around us. Ninth revelation, rebirth and reconnection to the world. Rebirth, it's a concept we've all heard about, but few truly understand. We often think of it as a grand moment of change, a dramatic transformation that marks the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. But for me, rebirth came in the quiet moments. It wasn't a single event, but a slow, unfolding process. I remember the first time I felt the stirrings of rebirth within me. It happened during a period of deep introspection. I had gone through a difficult phase, full of losses and struggles that left me feeling empty. I felt disconnected from everything, as if I were floating in a vast, empty ocean with no anchor to hold me. But in that emptiness, something shifted. It was subtle at first, like a small spark in the dark. I began to realize that this was not an end, but a beginning, a rebirth of sorts. I wasn't the same person I had been before. I was someone new, someone who had gone through the fire and come out the other side. This rebirth wasn't just about shedding the old parts of myself, though. It was about reconnecting with the world around me. For so long, I had been focused inward, working through my own pain and struggles. But in that moment of rebirth, I realized that I wasn't alone. The world had been waiting for me to reconnect. It was as if the universe had been patiently holding its breath, waiting for me to open my eyes and see the beauty that had always been there. I began to notice the small things, the way the sun kissed the earth each morning, the laughter of children, the kindness of strangers. The world had never been distant. I had simply been too lost in my own struggles to see it. Rebirth, I learned, is not just about personal transformation. It's about reintegrating with the world, reconnecting with the people, the places, and the energies that surround us. It's about finding our place in the grand tapestry of life. I felt the call to contribute, to offer my gifts and talents to the world in a way that aligned with my soul's purpose. This rebirth wasn't just about me. It was about how I could show up for others, how I could help heal the world in my own unique way. Reconnection, too, wasn't just about the world outside of me. It was about reconnecting to myself. It was about embracing all the parts of me that I had neglected, my passions, my dreams, my creative spark. Rebirth, I realized, is an ongoing process. It doesn't happen in one moment, but over time, as we continue to shed the old and embrace the new. It is a journey of constant growth, of reinvention, of reconnection. And it is through this process that we find our true selves and our true place in the world. Conclusion: the everlasting journey of the chosen ones. As I sit here reflecting on the revelations I've shared with you, I realize that the journey of the chosen ones is never truly finished. It's a journey of constant evolution, of continual awakening, and of ongoing transformation. We are all chosen, not because we are special, but because we are willing to walk the path that others are too afraid to take. The path of the chosen ones is not an easy one. It is filled with challenges, with moments of doubt, with periods of darkness. But it is also filled with moments of profound insight, of deep connection, and of pure joy. As chosen ones, we are called to remember who we truly are: divine beings, capable of creating change and manifesting our dreams. But we are also called to remember our connection to the world, to the people, and to the earth that sustains us. Our journey is not just for ourselves, but for the collective. We are here to bring light to the darkness, to heal the wounds of the past, and to inspire others to awaken to their own power. The journey of the chosen ones is one of service, of love, and of unity. It is a journey that never truly ends. There will always be more to learn, more to experience, and more to create. But that's what makes it so beautiful. Every step we take on this journey is an opportunity to grow, to expand, and to become more of who we are meant to be. And even though the road may be long, we are never alone. We are supported by the universe, by our higher selves, and by the love of those who walk with us. As we continue on our path, we are reminded that the journey is not about the destination. It is about the experiences, the lessons, and the people we encounter along the way. It is about embracing our true nature and living in alignment with our highest purpose. And in doing so, we help others remember their own divine essence. The everlasting journey of the chosen ones is a journey of love, of awakening, and of becoming. We are all chosen, and we are all walking this path together.